Hello, friends. A kind of a paradigm shift has happened in the area of education due to the pandemic COVID 19. And nowadays, everybody is talking about going online education. And this has led to various debates on the good and bad side of online education versus debates on online versus classroom education. Various people have commented that classroom education cannot be substituted with online education, and it is at this time I think it is very fitting that an discussion on cultural studies is happening via online platform, because cultural studies as a discipline never ever accepted or always uh, rebelled against any such binaries and distinctions between high culture and popular culture. We know that in our surroundings there is this view that only the regular classroom mode of education is the best, whereas the offline mode, the other modes like distance education or even these online platforms were not taken in a very positive way. Okay, somehow a situation has emerged that we need to shift to the online mode of education. So in this short video, I'll be giving a very introductory discussion on cultural studies, one of the very basic topics in cultural studies. When we talk about cultural studies, the first question maybe coming to our mind is, what is culture? So when we ask this question, what is culture, uh, no, automatically we will be asking this question, what is civilization then? Or because we always have this discussion on what is culture and civilization, or what is the distinction between culture and civilization. So it is understanding these two terms is very much important, essential in understanding culture studies in general. So I'll be beginning with some of the views of the scholars on what is culture and what is civilization. So civilization as a term has been used since the 18th century to refer to the action or process of civilizing or of being civilized. You may have already heard this, civilizing mission when in connection with the colonial, post-colonial theories and all that. So civilization and civilized has always some kind of a meaning. Civilization is the humanization of man in society. Civilization is the humanization of man in society. That was the words by Matthew Arnold in 1879. It is used to denote a developed or advanced state of human society. Examples stress the intersection between pre-modern empires and the colonial encounter. So when we talk about the great and ancient Egyptian civilization, we talk about, or we have this what comes to our mind is the great architectural constructions and all that. In Burkett's work Civilization, published in 1857, it characterizes Egyptian civilization as one which forms a striking contrast to the barbarism of the other nations of Africa, while differentiating the civilization of Europe for its capacity of development unknown to those civilizations which were originated by soil. So when we talk about Egyptian civilization, we talk of Egyptian civilization because of its grandeur. At a time where all other human societies were living in at the beginnings of civilization. So we use this in order to contrast between the lack of certain achievements and the achievement itself. In Keywords, the work by Raymond Williams, he traces the association of civilization with the general spirit of the Enlightenment, with its emphasis on secular and progressive human self-development, as well as its associated sense of modernity. So with Enlightenment, we have this beginning of the modernity as well. So the word civilization will automatically refer back to the idea of or sense of modernity. Civilization comes to stand for a whole modern social process, including, for instance, the thinking of John Stuart Mill, an increase in knowledge and physical comfort, the decline of superstition, the rise of forward moving nations, the growth of freedom, but also loss of independence, the creation of artificial wants, monotony, narrow mechanical understanding, inequality, and hopeless poverty, as quoted by Raymond Williams. So, you know the history, the whole concept of enlightenment, which is actually talking about civilizing a civilized, what are the requirements or what are the achievements of a civilized nation. Again, we will be seeing the words by or the observations made by Matthew Arnold or F.R. Lewis in this direction later. So Williams notes a critical moment when civilization was used in the plural, beginning in French usage in the 19th century. From the 19th century to the 21st century, the slippage of the term civilization between its singular and plural uses has offered a logic of universal historical destiny to particular racial, religious, and cultural authorities. So the term has uh, undergone so many changes in meaning or say, changes in the understanding. For instance, in anthropology, the concept of civilization was associated with evolutionary distinctions, contrasting civilization with savagery and barbarism. So, anthropologists they talk about three stages of human development: savagery, barbarism, and civilization. And they may argue that the present stage of human society is in the stage of civilization. In history, the concept laid out world regions associated with imperial state building and religious conversion. By the mid 20th century, English discussion, influenced by criticism of evolutionism, turned to the historical and relativizing term culture. So, civilization was used in a kind of an evolutionary idea. There is a gradual process of evolution from primitive societies to the civilized societies. So, that was the understanding of the word meaning. So, in order to cover that sense, later, the mid 20th century, the English people started, or English language started replacing the word civilization with the term culture. William's interest in civilization derived from his project to democratize the idea of culture. Yet, other Western legacies kept civilization alive. In 1939, Norbert Elias traced the history of French and German commitment to the concept of civilization. French reformers used the term civilization in the mid 18th century to stress the importance of improving elite culture and politics from within the elite world of manners. In contrast, German thinkers saw civilization as an affectation that couldn't substitute for the more genuine morality of culture. Elias used his Germanic perspective to offer a critical history of the civilizing process, in which increasing self-restraint in everyday human behavior creates an uncomfortable but regularized modernity. Meanwhile, the 20th century French thinkers continue to find civilization a productive tool for reform. So these are some of the views associated with the term civilization. So let's now see what are the various views on culture. So Matthew Arnold at one time says that in 1869 in his work, he says that culture is properly described as having its origin in the love of perfection. It is a study of perfection. It moves by the force, not merely or primarily of the scientific passion for pure knowledge, but also of the moral and social passion for doing good. So he considered culture as a love of perfection, a disinterested endeavor to learn and propagate the best that is known and thought in the world. His views you may be familiar with. And in the same line, F.R. Lewis also talked about culture, and also the merits and demerits and the disadvantages of the modern culture. All those are being theorized by F.R. Lewis as well. In anthropology, the definition, the most prominent definition is by E.B. Taylor, an anthropologist. He says that culture, taken in its wide ethnographic sense is that complex whole that includes knowledge, belief, arts, morals, law, custom, and many other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. So these are all associated with certain value systems, certain ways of life, everything associated with man as a member of society. At the very center of a major area of modern thought and practice, which it is habitually used to describe, is a concept, culture, which in itself, through variation and complication, embodies not only the issues but the contradictions through which it has developed, says Raymond Williams. He again said that it is one of the most complicated words in English language because of the difficulty we see in understanding the term. Williams points out that by the middle of the 18th century, the term culture came to be used as a synonym for civilization. So there was a time when both are being used interchangeably. You can use culture or you can uh, use civilization, Indian culture or Indian civilization. To be civilized or cultured meant to be well mannered. With industrialization, all those things associated with the mechanical are seen opposed to the culture. So there is a change in the a narrow change in the very significant change in the uh, meaning between both the terms. Whereas civilization denotes all those ideas associated with industrialization, mechanical or outer material advancement of human society. Culture, the word culture denoted or started denoting spiritual, inner, and other internal growth of human mind. So this is the way that both the words started changing its significance, and nowadays culture is one of the very crucial and also very controversial sometimes uh, idea. We have this view that it is an unquestionable idea. So all these uh, will be coming under the discussion of cultural studies, and we need a basic understanding of what culture is, because as Raymond Williams very famously proclaimed, culture is ordinary, the everydayness of culture. All these will be coming to the will be coming into the discussion of cultural studies in the upcoming videos. I hope you will be able to understand these very two basic concepts here. We will be continuing later. Thank you.